delighted to talk to you this afternoon and give you an Irish perspective on assessing the sustainability of the global feed value chain, and to talk to you a little bit more about a programme that we've been running in Ireland called Origin Green, and to give you a little bit of detail about something called the Carbon Navigator within that. Just to give you a little bit of perspective on where we're coming from in Ireland in terms of looking at the whole sustainability of our food and drink sector, we conducted some trade research going back to 2009, and we asked some of the customers that we buy Irish food around Europe what their perceptions were about Ireland and the sustainability of its food production. And those of you who have been to Ireland probably recognise that it is seen as being green and natural, but the response that we got from that research was that we needed to prove it. So we have some natural attributes in Ireland. We're sitting on the edge of the Atlantic. We're washed by the Gulf Stream. We produce grass really well. We produce more of it per unit area, 40% more of it per unit area than anywhere else in Europe. Those of you who have been to Ireland, and I've met a couple of you already this morning who have been there, and I met one couple who said, we were there 4 years ago, and for the whole 2 weeks that we were there, it didn't rain. And I said, gosh, you'll have to come back, because we're lucky that we are naturally irrigated, and we don't suffer from any water stress, and because it's not an industrialised country, we have high air quality. And a research study that was done back in 2011 by the EU Commission showed that by their assessment, the carbon footprint, the greenhouse gas emissions from beef in Ireland was amongst the lowest of the 28 member states in the EU. But because we had those natural advantages and we were setting out from a fairly good position, didn't give us, we felt, a licence to take things as they were. We wanted to try and become a world leader in sustainability, and that was a big ask of our industry, but it's an ambition that we set ourselves when we launched Origin Green in 2012. And when we were launching it at that time, we set out 4 principles of what we were trying to achieve. And the first was that we would have everybody on the journey, and that was every farm and every food business would sign up to becoming, or to try to become, more sustainable. That we would try and measure what matters, and that in that measurement we would use international standards, accredited standards and independent verification at all points along the path, and that we would set out on a path of continuous improvement using science, innovation and best practice to guide us in improving our performance. Such has been the interest and the adoption of this whole process, if you like, that our national agri-food strategy, which is a 10-year horizon called Foodwise 2025, has a whole chapter about sustainability. The sustainability conversation has been stitched in firmly into national policy about food and agriculture in Ireland. We started from a strong base insofar as that we have a quality assurance programme that is accredited to EN 45000 or ISO 17065, and we've been operating that for more than 10 years. So we had a platform by which we were measuring traceability, welfare, health and environment on farm in Ireland on a continuous basis, and that we saw that as a platform by which we would be able to add other metrics that we would be able to measure and produce a carbon footprint for each individual farm. The scale of what we do in Ireland is quite significant. We have a big number of small farms, but we have 46,000 beef farms that are certified members of our quality assurance programme. We have a dairy programme that started in December 13. There are 18,000 dairy farms, and about 14,000 of those are signed up to this process. We started to do carbon assessments on individual farms back in May 2011, and from that day to now we've done over 110,000 carbon assessments on farms, which is quite a big number, and we also are rolling out programmes to look at this whole area in other agricultural sectors in Ireland. The process in its simplest form is about that quality assurance audit that happens on farm, where an independent auditor by appointment visits a farm and collects data from the farmer. But we also get the farmer's permission to access other information that has been collected about that farm. One of them is a very important one, is called the AIM, the Animal Identification and Movement Database, that's run by our Ministry for Agriculture. And that measures in real time all movements on cattle farms in Ireland. So we have a very precise picture of the number of animals that are resident on any particular holding and for how long that they reside there. And we also have a database from the Irish Cattle Breeders Federation that gives us other performance data. So we get the farmer's permission to access those databases, and we collect the information electronically, and all that information gets sent to our database, is crunched very rapidly, and we feed back to each farmer then an indicative performance from their farm. So just to give you a flavour of what the type of data that we collect housing period, for example. We find out for the different types of animals that the farmer has, when they were housed, how long they were outdoor. And this is an example, a very busy slide, but from our AIM database, it gives each individual animal has a unique ear tag, and we know all the detail about those animals. So we're able to calculate with great precision the number of kilos of beef that's produced on any holding for any given time period. And from that information, we send a letter to each farmer. We tell them what their indicative carbon footprint is, based on a methodology that we developed with the Carbon Trust in the UK called PAS 2050. And we give the farmer feedback not only on what their current performance is, but how it relates to that of their position relative to their peers. And we also break it down into a number of individual metrics that are within the farmer's own management control, so that they can see how they compare with their peers. And what we're simply trying to do, as I mentioned when I was speaking this morning, is we're trying to correlate greenhouse gas emissions and farm financial performance, and try to motivate farmers that there is potential to improve their financial position by farming more efficiently and be farming more sustainably. And we took that a little step further, and we worked with another Irish organisation called Teagasc, which is our national agricultural research agency, and we developed a software called the Carbon Navigator tool. And what this does is it again looks at those 6 measurements, in this case for beef that we have. In this we also have one for dairy. And from that audit feedback that the individual farmer gets, we're able to show them what their current performance is, and then with their farm advisor, or indeed by themselves or in their discussion group, farmers can set targets against their current performance, and that they're able to then equate, if they achieve those targets in the future, what the impact will be in terms of their financial performance, and also how they'll reduce their carbon footprint. So this is something that we have developed over the last number of years, and our national government have taken this Carbon Navigator tool as being a very important part of some of our agricultural support programmes, and by the end of October we hope to have something like 40,000 farmers signed up to this programme, so that they will be measuring their performance and setting targets for themselves over the next number of years to try and achieve some of the targets that they set for themselves. So this is something that we're doing at scale, and it's something that we're trying to involve every farm in Ireland, most of the commercial beef farms in Ireland, because I think it was mentioned earlier, if we want to try and shift that curve of performance, well then we have to get everybody involved. It's, as my previous speakers have mentioned, there's more to it than carbon, but one of the things that we have identified is that if we're able to try and move everybody towards the average, we would be, in terms of beef and dairy farms in Ireland, we would be able to reduce emissions by 1.1 million tonnes of CO2. And that's an impressive number. One of the things that we try and do is engage farmers in the process that we're doing, and we have previously run an awards programme and highlight farmers around different parts of Ireland doing in different production systems and highlighting what they've been able to do to their peers through the agricultural media. And in a couple of weeks' time we'll be having an Origin Green Sustainable Beef and Dairy Producer Award evening in Ireland, where we'll be highlighting again excellent performance and showing farmers the potential of what they can achieve. We've also done some work on the whole water footprinting of beef and dairy, and much like what Brenna was saying earlier, we have seen that just 1% of the water that's used, that is accounted for in that model, is abstracted water. And again, we're trying to develop good practice with farmers, see how they can recycle the water that they use and not waste the valuable resource, even though it might be abundant. We also are involved in trying to work with farmers in terms of biodiversity. We're sponsoring an all-Ireland pollinator plan, and we're encouraging farmers to plant trees, become involved in environmental scheme programmes and develop areas of conservation. And we have run a pilot programme this year where we're trying to see how we can remotely assess wildlife habitats in Ireland, and we're working with our research agency to see can we put metrics at scale in terms of that. Of course, that's the farm side of things. There's also a whole programme that involves all the food manufacturers, and that's one thing I just want to touch on as well. We developed what we call a sustainability charter, again using ISEAL Code of Good Practice as a guideline, and the SGS company are the independent verifiers of this. And what we ask every food manufacturing company, and our beef processing sector have been one of the early adopters of this whole programme, is to set targets under 3 categories in terms of raw material sourcing, the manufacturing process and social sustainability. And we're asking companies to develop a plan so that they identify targets in each of those areas. They document what they want to achieve, how they're going to achieve it, how they're going to measure it, and how they're going to report on it. And they are obliged, in terms of being part of the programme, to furnish us with an annual progress report against their targets. And again, it's SGS who independently verify the progress that is made by those companies. We have 523 companies. When I left Ireland last Friday, or at the weekend, that was on the website. All of this information is, you can see the progress that we're making on our Origin Green website. We have those 523 companies account for 90% of what we export, and we have 204 verified members. And a verified member is a company who has written this plan and is implementing it and is furnishing annual reports. And those 204 verified members account for 85% of our exports. We provide a lot of support and assistance to companies in helping them develop their plan and implement it through workshops, through giving them feedback on interim reports that they send us before they become fully verified, and we give them one-to-one support. And we've developed an Origin Green platform, which is essentially a discussion group amongst companies, so they can pose questions to one another and learn from one another how they've tackled particular issues. This time, November last year, we published our first sustainability report, and before the year is complete, I have to make sure that another one is produced, so I better get back from Canada before too long. But we have outlined the progress that we've made in the last number of years, and again, this graph just shows the proportion of our exports that are now emanating from companies who are verified members of Origin Green. And just to give you a small synopsis, again, that report is available on our origingreen.ie website, and you can download it. But you can see that in terms of if all the companies that were involved in the programme up until publication of that report last year were to hit the energy targets that they've set themselves, the amount of money that would be saved, the amount of waste that would be diverted away from landfill, and the reduction in water use from manufacturing companies. So we're well on the road to success that we set out in 2012, but we also are keen to adopt the whole continuous improvement culture, and we want to lower the environmental footprint. We want to actually be able to quantify in more detail the actual gains that farmers are making in terms of reducing their environmental footprint, be it through greenhouse gas emissions, water quality or biodiversity. We also are working with our food manufacturers to try and improve the health and well-being of their products in terms of the social impact of what the food industry does. We're creating a showcase. We want to create a showcase for Origin Green and the philosophy that we've adopted amongst our companies in Ireland, and we're going to embark early next year on a civic engagement campaign to share what we're doing, not only with you but also with the citizens of Ireland. And we have to work continuously to collaborate. What we have done has taken a huge amount of collaboration between the organisation that I work for, farmers, farmer organisations, research institutes, industry bodies. There has been an incredible amount of collaboration, and that's the secret to success. And of course, to keep this going, we have to keep the momentum going, and that requires constant attention. That just gives you a short or brief visual of the number of organisations that are domestically based in Ireland that we're working with. Working with Sci Platform, with GRSB, with all the other organisations that we're involved in internationally is a separate slide. But to that end, I mentioned this morning about the work that I'm involved in with Sci Platform, and we want to become part more formally of GRSB, and we're working on that because I think what we're doing is consistent with what GRSB is trying to do. We've been fortunate, I think, in getting some recognition internationally from the World Wildlife Fund, from the World Bank, in terms of the efforts that we're trying to do, because what we have done is possibly unique in that it's trying to mobilise a whole country in terms of improving its sustainability footprint in terms of food. But more importantly, and I think this goes to some of the questions that came up this morning, there's a whole generation of consumers out there who want their food manufacturers to demonstrate a commitment to sustainability. And I think that's the long-term bet for not only for the Irish food industry, but for the global beef industry as well.